Chapter 7. The sun was barely peeking over the Hollywood sign on Mount Lee when Milo's battered convertible wheezed onto the studio lot, coughing like an asthmatic chain smoker. For a moment he clenched the wheel, his jaw tight, teeth grinding as he tried to ground himself. But he was feeling as charged as an electric wire. Where was a gaffer when you needed one? 3 deep breaths later, Milo got out of his car and walked to the trunk, opening it to see a jumble of cardboard boxes, duffel bags, and milk crates. This is all that remained after the fire sale on his furniture. He grunted while hefting an especially heavy box labelled Dreams, Fragile. It contained his scripts, or his books. He couldn't quite remember. Maybe labelling every box the same had been a bad idea. He lugged the box to his office, shouldered open the door, and stepped inside. He surveyed the room, mentally tetrising his belongings. Each box was like a game piece in the world's most depressing puzzle, where winning meant fitting your entire life into a space designed for storing broken dreams and unused office supplies. Poppy would have a conniption if he encroached on her area, so he'd have to cram his boxes into every spare inch of space on his side of the room. The couch would double as his bed. His desk would be his table, and the filing cabinet could work as a makeshift dresser. He set the box down, pushed his desk a little to the right, salvaging a precious few more inches. It revealed a questionable stain on the carpet. He shrugged. Abstract art. Then he went back for the next box. By the time Milo finished transferring all his belongings to the cottage, he was soaked in sweat. But he'd done it. The sound of bubblegum popping startled him. He turned to see Poppy, her platinum blonde hair catching the morning light in a halo of peroxide. "What the hell?" she said, staring at a leaning pile of dreams. Milo grinned, spreading his arms wide. "Welcome to Casa de Piven!" Poppy's eyebrows shot up like a startled cat. "You're moving in? Here? Have you lost what's left of your mind?" "I'm going all in on the golden path, Poppy." "How so?" "I'm using my prize money to fund it, no more rent." "Harrington know about this?" Her gum snapping was a staccato rhythm of disbelief. Milo waved off her concern. "This is our shot, our chance to make something truly special." "Our shot?" Poppy snapped her gum. "Our chance. So he doesn't know." "He does not," Milo said, his eyes gleaming with the fevered intensity of a man who'd either discovered buried treasure or lost all his marbles. "But I couldn't do this without you, Poppy. I need you to start running the budget while I finalise the script. Auditions, locations, equipment, the works." "You want me to produce this whole thing?" "Can you think of anyone better? If anyone can wrangle my chaos into a movie, it's you." Her expression softened somewhat. She blew a bubble deep in thought. The bubble expanded while Milo waited impatiently. After a decisive pop, she nodded. "Fine. But I expect a producer credit and a raise." "Done and done!" Milo pulled Poppy into an impromptu hug and attempted to dance her around the office. Not that there was any space, so he mainly hopped in one spot while she looked mildly scandalised. After which, Poppy retreated to her desk, muttering about there not being enough gum in the universe for what she had to deal with. Milo decided it was time for his own fix. Not gum, but coffee. He stepped out of Casa de Piven. Maybe he should change the sign on the office. Or maybe not. Harrington might ask questions. And made his way to Ava's oasis of caffeinated salvation. "Well, well, well," she greeted him, her cerulean hair catching the morning light. "If it isn't Hollywood's next big thing." "I sure hope so," Milo said. Then he leaned forward and lowered his voice. "I moved into the office, trying to save a few bucks so I can fund the golden path. But I don't want Harrington to know. I'm pretty sure the whole lot knows. You ever try keeping a secret in Hollywood?" Milo frowned and grabbed the steaming cup, inhaling deeply as if the fumes alone could jumpstart his brain. "Well, the golden path is happening, come hell or high water." But Ava wasn't listening. She was studying something over his shoulder. Milo turned, following her line of sight to the cluster of shadows between a matching set of sound stages. to where a figure stood like a living anachronism, as if someone had spliced footage from a 1940s noir into modern-day Hollywood. "Do you see him too?" Milo asked. "See who?" He glanced at Ava to see her attention was already back on the espresso machine. Milo turned again, but the mysterious figure had vanished. He blinked. A lack of sleep and excess of caffeine were finally catching up to him. "Never mind." He shook his head, lifted the cup. "Thanks for the coffee." "You got it, Milo." Milo made his way back to the cottage, but was unable to shake the feeling of being watched. The hairs on his neck were bristling, and he kept glancing over his shoulder every couple of steps. But the lot stayed stubbornly devoid of mysterious figures in hats, at least the kind that looked like a fedora. He stepped back into the office, half expecting to find the trench-coated man waiting for him. Instead, he found Poppy with the phone pressed to her ear. "No, we're not looking for Instagram models who can sort of act." "Yes, I said sort of act. Don't pretend you don't know what I mean." "What do you mean, do we have a script?" "Of course we—" Hello! Poppy slammed the phone down. "I swear, these casting agencies think every movie is a TikTok compilation with a bigger budget." "No luck?" he asked. "Not yet. But give me a few hours." Milo silently thanked whatever cynical, gum-chewing deity had sent Poppy his way. She was a force of nature in stilettos, or perhaps a Hollywood hurricane contained in a pencil skirt. He settled into his chair, reading through the script for The Golden Path. The paper felt alive in his hands, buzzing with potential and the weight of cinematic history. "All right, Frank," Milo said. "Let's make some movie magic." He began scribbling out production notes and updating dialogue, getting so lost in his work that he failed to notice that Poppy was becoming increasingly agitated, until a sharp knock on his desk jolted him back to reality. He looked up, blinking like an owl, to find Poppy standing over him with an exasperated expression. "I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want first?" Milo unfurled from his chair like a rusty jack-in-the-box, each vertebra in his spine popping in protest. He winced and his body fossilized into a writer's slouch. "Let's go with the good." "I've lined up a bunch of auditions for next week." She handed him a schedule. "Some real talent in there, if we're lucky." "That's great," Milo said, scanning the names. "And the bad?" "Equipment's going to be a big problem. Seems like every camera in town is booked solid for the next month. And don't even get me started on lighting rigs. There must be something available. What about the old stuff in storage here at the studio?" "Already checked," she shook her head. "It's all either broken or so outdated it could have been used to film the Big Bang." Okay, we'll figure something out." Milo ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. "Maybe we can borrow gear from film school friends or, I don't know, shoot the whole thing on iPhones or something." The Golden Path, a Frank Capra joint, now in stunning vertical video? "Very funny," grumbled Milo. "I'm sure we'll find a—" The lights flickered and died. Milo stood in stunned silence for a moment before Poppy's voice cut through the gloom. "Please tell me the electric bill was paid." Of course it was. Milo fumbled for his phone, using its light to illuminate the room. Must be a power outage. He made his way to the window and peered out into the lot. The entire studio appeared to be dark, except for a bank of emergency lights casting eerie shadows between the buildings, turning the lot into something that looked art directed by German expressionists. "Great," Poppy said. "No lights, no computers, no phones. Guess we're done for the day." But Milo wasn't listening. His attention was fixed on a figure moving through the shadows of the lot, a figure in a familiar trench coat and fedora. "There," Milo said, pointing outside. "The extra from a noir film. Do you see him?" Poppy joined him at the window and squinted into the darkness. "See who? There's nobody out there." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Come on, Spielberg. Let's call it a day before you start seeing little green men."